Hello and welcome. In this video, I'll be covering the history of the Crucible in Doom Eternal. I'll be investigating how it works, what energy is the blade made of, and I'll be comparing it against the Marauders' axe, Valen's hammer, and the Dark Lord's weapons. So, there's plenty of things to discuss, so without further delay, let's begin. Now, first of all, what is the Crucible? Well, the Crucible is a weapon unlike any other. This weapon was only available to the kings of Argent D'Nur, since there was only ever one king at a time. Therefore, only one individual had the honor and privilege to carry such a powerful weapon. But what energy is the blade made of? Well, as I've mentioned in my previous videos, it is made of pure Wraith energy. And I can confirm both of my previous statements from this one codex entry from Doom Eternal. It says as follows: He, the Slayer, took the crucible in his hand, and wraith fire leapt forth from the blade, as only it will when held by a true Sentinel warrior king. Now this text from the codex entry, not only does it prove that the blade is made of wraith energy, but that only a king could ever wield such a weapon, and it makes complete sense. To become a king, you would have to be of a warrior caste. This is because the Argenta function upon a simple yet effective system: the strongest shall rule, and this belief is proved within King Novik's codex entry, and it says as follows: The Sentinel people, defined by a legacy of war, deem only those of warrior caste fit to rule, and in times of battle, it is expected that the king lead from the battlefield rather than the safety of the throne. As it is written in Sentinel law, a king unfit for battle is likewise unfit to rule. A weapon such as this was not only an item to show off your rank or status, it was a reward for an individual to earn. And again, it makes perfect sense, because the strongest weapon, when wielded by the strongest warrior, can be used to its fullest potential, and only the strongest warriors can defend their weapons from falling into the wrong hands. But there was an added enchantment that was attached to the weapons of these kings. This enchantment made it so that only the person that could activate it and use the weapon was the individual that it belonged to. And we have actually seen this within the game when we play through Teres Nabad, when the Slayer is reforging his blade after removing it from the Titan. So let's go through the process step by step to see exactly how it works. So first of all, we can see the Slayer separating the hilt from the blade, leaving the blade embedded within the Titan. This means that as long as the blade remains embedded within the Titan is considered to be effectively dead, or in some sort of deep slumber. Then secondly, once the blade is removed, we can see the side guards of the blade retract, meaning that it is now deactivated. Then we enter the Slayer's vault. Now I believe that this vault is primarily used by all the kings, so whoever is king at the time will have their own symbol on the front of the vault and be the only one to access it, and so on. When another king comes along, he gets to have all of the spoils of the previous king, and then further develop more spoils for the next king to take over. But that's beside the point. Then, in the middle of the vault, we can see an enchanted medallion with the symbol of the Slayer on it. The Slayer brings the medallion closer to his blade, and we can see the mark of the Slayer upon the weapon start glowing, and the side guards then extend. This potentially means that the sword is now ready to have a new blade forged. Finally, we go through the vault's inner systems to access a pool of pure wraith energy, which I'm not sure how long it's been there, but I would assume it's been there since the very beginning. And this is where the Slayer would reforge his new blade. Now there's a couple of things that haven't been explained anywhere. First of all, is it possible that this vault was used by whoever was king at the time, and they all shared the same pool of wraith energy that is hidden within the vault's network, or potentially each king has their own individual vault hidden somewhere and their own pool of wraith energy. Personally, I believe it is the first option because it doesn't make sense to me to create multiple vaults for each king. It seems like a bit of a waste of space, and I don't think that there was enough wraith energy to go around, but this could go either way. Now that I've discussed how the Crucible works and what energy is the blade made of, now I feel that it's time to talk about the Marauder's Axe and the Sentinel Hammer, and also to prove to you that they are both made of wraith energy. Well, first things first, we only need to look at the codex entry for the Sentinel Hammer, which proves that it is made of wraith energy. The codex entry says as follows: a sacred weapon wielded by Commander Valen of the Sentinel armies, powered by a massive infusion of wraith energy, allowing a combatant to stun and extract resources from demonic foes. Next, we need to have a look at what weaponized wraith energy actually looks like visually. So first of all, we can see that the main body of the weapon has a strong red tint to it. The edges of the blades have an orange or yellow or even a bright red appearance. You can see red colored sparks emanating from these weapons, from both the Sentinel Hammer on the codex entry page and the Crucible sword when it is being reforged. Now for the most important aspect to determine if it's wraith energy or not, and that are these array of symbols which cover most of the weapon. These identifiers I've talked about are present on all three weapons: the Crucible sword, the Marauder's Axe, and Valen's Hammer. Now I guess that begs the question, how in the hell did the Marauders get access to weaponized wraith energy if they're not actually kings? Well, that is a question for Hugo Martin to answer, not for me, because nowhere in the game does it actually explain why that is. My theory, which is not really a strong theory, is that it is possible that these Marauders were once the kings of Argenta's past. That is why they have a weapon made of wraith energy of their own. But then again, it doesn't really make any sense because there's definitely more than one Marauder, and they're not wearing any sort of king-like armor, so I'm just going to leave this for Hugo Martin to answer. Now that I've established what these weapons are made of, the next question is, what are these Crucible weapons actually capable of? Well, first things first, the Crucible sword does not function based off of a 3-charge system, at least in the lore. What that means is that in-game, we have 3 charges before the Crucible sword is depleted. Within the lore, as far as we know, the sword is not limited to 3 charges. The only time the sword will become depleted is when the wielder breaks off the hilt and leaves the blade embedded within the demon. So the Crucible sword, and by extension wraith energy, is extremely powerful to completely neutralize a massive demonic titan. The Crucible, along with the Marauder's Axe, can cut through any demon no matter how physically strong or resilient they are. And let me show you a couple of examples from in-game. Now, speaking of the Marauder, in addition to the axe, they also have a shield which is also made of wraith energy, and we can confirm that by simply looking at the shield from a visual standpoint. It has a red interior with a bright outline or a glow on the edges, and it has the same wraith-like symbols embedded within the shield itself. This shield is incredibly powerful. It can absorb and deflect any and all projectiles, including the very powerful BFG projectile and the Unmaker projectiles. And within the game, we can see the shield can hold pretty much forever. Finally, we have the Sentinel Hammer, which has the power to siphon resources from its enemies, like health and armor and ammo even, which is also confirmed within the codex entry. This means that wraith energy, depending on how it is forged into a weapon, can have vastly different properties, all of which are extremely powerful. and I would love to see more development and variation in future games. Now, as we approach the end of the video, I know a lot of people will wonder what energy the Dark Lord's weapons are made of. Well, right off the bat, I can confirm that his weapon and his shield are made of Wraith energy, simply by looking at them from a visual standpoint. Both his weapon and his shield contain the Wraith-like symbols within. Now, I'm not entirely sure if those are meant to be demonic symbols or if they're supposed to mean anything, but the fact that those very same symbols are arranged in the exact same way on the Crucible sword, the Marauder's shield, the Marauder's axe, and Valen's hammer, all of which are confirmed to be Wraith energy, this means, by deduction, that the Dark Lord's weapons and his shield are also Wraith energy. But this is where it gets incredibly confusing, because we have no idea how old the Wraiths really are. Does this mean that the Wraiths were alive during the time when Davoth created Jekad, and then went on to create Earth and then Urdak by extension? And if we assume that his weapons are actually Wraith energy, does this mean that it was Davoth that created the Wraith? Well, that is something that Hugo Martin will have to answer. Anyways, that is all that I have for this video. If you like this video, make sure to click on that like button, and also let me know in the comments below what you think of these lore videos. If there's any other topic you want me to cover about Doom lore or possibly any other game, make sure to let me know in the comments below. And if you like the sort of content that I make, then consider subscribing. And as always, I will see you in the next video.